If I hadn't done the nudity, I might not have a career today.
I don't want to sound rude or anything, but you didn't really have a career after American Pie. Can anyone even name the last movie that she was in that wasn't 20 years ago? All I know her from is Scary Movie and American Pie. Hello, this is Wanker Reviews, and today I will be doing a video on Skin, a history of nudity in movies. A documentary about the history of mostly female nudity. It was very interesting hearing about how, as time went on, that the industry became more censored than it was back in the late 1800s. The first half deals with history and restrictions when it came to nudity. They also talk about present day, where women or actors in general have more rights. It provides a lot of information for future actresses that you don't have to do certain things to make it in the business, or if you are willing to do nude, you have protection through contracts and union standards, so people in the industry can't take advantage of you. And I thought that was very insightful. But like I mentioned before, this also talks about certain laws that were put in place that prevented nudity or anything sexually suggestive from the 30s all the way to the 50s. And then towards the late 60s, once female nudity was accepted, male nudity slowly became the norm as well. They even talked about how male nudity, even today, is seen as shocking and taboo because it's not considered sexy. And female nudity is much more socially acceptable. And also, being attractive while being nude is more socially acceptable, and it's very taboo to be unattractive or out of shape. I'm glad they brought this up because while watching, I was wondering, okay, why is this documentary only focusing on women and not male actors or plus size actors? The second half deals with actresses and some actors and their experiences with going nude and how back in the day they didn't have much protection. I'm actually surprised they didn't delve deeper into possible sexual assault or manipulation, because they did seem to mention Me Too towards the beginning and having more rights today and what they will do and what they won't do and how they no longer have to be pressured into doing things that they don't want to do. The documentary, for the most part, is surprisingly very lighthearted and had a lot of humor. It was more educational about just the general history about films and nudity, just like the title suggests. But I did think that it would maybe delve into some possible dark history behind the camera and how the work environment was and how they may or may not have felt very uncomfortable in certain situations. Although there was a particular segment with Sean Young, who was a part of a movie called No Way Out in 1987. This segment in particular kind of disturbed me a little bit because of the wording. Like, the tone of the whole documentary is very lighthearted, but hearing how Sean Young was wording everything that she was saying made my antennas go up. It was very clear that she was very uncomfortable in the process of making this movie, and it actually saddened me very much. Just by the words that she was using, you can tell that she is still very uncomfortable reliving that decades later. Moving on, I thought it was really fascinating when they started speaking about suggestive acts from the early 30s. There was one scene that hinted at bestiality. A scene involving a gorilla and a woman, and the gorilla is walking towards the woman. When I saw this a few times in different movie clips that they showed, I immediately thought of race and how the gorilla was supposed to represent black men, since black people are commonly compared to apes by white supremacists. And I thought it was very interesting that even back then, white men had fetishes for this. Overall, I did enjoy this. I give it a 5.5 out of 10. It was entertaining and it wasn't boring, not once during the whole thing, and it's almost a 2 hour documentary. I give it a 5.5 out of 10. I just wished for a little bit more insight as to what it really was like to be an actress on set during different time periods and not just the history. Because they did gloss over a lot of stories because it's very quick paced. It's a bunch of different segments that are quickly glossed over, and I just wanted a little bit more detail in some of the stories that were told about certain actresses, like Marilyn Monroe would have been nice. But it was still very entertaining, and I do recommend it if you are interested in something like this. So yeah, 5.5.